recorded live in Jacksonville, Florida. This is Trivial Warfare. More than just a pub quiz, Trivial Warfare is your gateway to a worldwide trivia community. Join your hosts, Jonathan.
We just described Ric Flair as Neanderthal Man and Planet of the Apes.
Chris.
Yo, we going down to Sesame Street.
That's your impression of hardcore rap?
Carmela.
That would irritate the hell out. I'm like, I just want my groceries. My ice cream is melting.
Ben.
4 halogens in that list. Oh my God.
You were like, it's not the halogens. I'm like, no, Ben, no.
Those damn halogens got me again.
And the rest of the Trivial Warfare Army for another week of fun and games. Now here's your host, Jonathan Oakes.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Trivial Warfare. We are the podcast that takes the pub quiz out of the pub and brings it home to you. My name is Jonathan, and this is episode number 376. Holy crap, that's a lot of episodes. And I'm here today with Carmela Smith. Hello, Carmela.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome back. It's been a little bit of time since we've seen you. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Zahkia Mendoza is with us today as well. Hey, Zahkia.
Hello, Jonathan.
Welcome back. Great to have you guys here. I tell you, I'm a little bit sore this morning. I'm preparing my house to put on the market to sell. And I was outside yesterday trying to clean the pool deck, which sucks because the water has an angle away from the pool so that stuff won't roll into it. But when dirt cakes up on a pool deck and you're trying to clean it, it floods the back area of your pool and you can't. So you're basically using brooms and water pressure to try and push the water up a slope. And I'm scrubbing, vigorously pushing, and the little scrubbing broom just breaks right in there. And all the water with all the dirt just like whoosh right back over everything I just cleaned. I'm so hurt by this.
Sorry, bro.
Oh my God.
One must imagine Sisyphus happy.
Oh, God. It was so bad. All right, so we have some awesome guests today. Matthew Stevens is with us. Hey, Matthew.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Welcome to the show. Glad you're back.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back.
And Les Chrisman is with us today. Hey, Les.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Jonathan. How are y'all?
Doing great, doing great. Now I want to get to know you guys a little bit better. We're going to start with Matthew. Matthew, tell everybody where you're from, what you do, and something fun about yourself.
Sure. My name is Matthew Stevens, or Matt. You can call me Matt. You don't have to go with the Matthew and be so formal. I don't care.
Sweet.
I'm a musician from Rochester, New York, and something fun about myself. I'm gonna tell the if it's okay with you, I'm gonna tell the backstory of the Warmed Up Chris song.
Oh, I love it. Go for it. Yes,
so,
he's that Matt.
Yeah.
Now I said Matt. Yeah, he's that Matthew
right.
Stevens.
That's correct. So what you don't know, Jonathan, is so the way that worked, Jonathan put out like an all call on the TWA Facebook page, and I responded to him. He said, "Hey, we're looking to write some new stuff for the bumper music," and I said, "Yeah, I'll take a shot at it." That recording that I sent you was about this time in the morning. So I've just woken up. I was not prepared to sing whatsoever, and I did it. When I did it, for some reason, the software I was using, because it's 2 tracks, my guitar track and then the vocal track was not lining up with the guitar track. No matter what I was doing, it just would not happen. So I was recording the vocals in time with the guitar, and then latency was happening, and it was putting them later in the track. So the track that you hear on Trivial Warfare every week is me singing ahead of the guitar part so that it would line up with the actual guitar part once it happened.
Wow.
It was a big pain. Also, it was never intended to be the one you used. I was fully intending on re-recording that if you liked it, and you're like, no, it's perfect. We're using it. It's amazing. Oh my God. We're gonna
Jonathan's like, we're done.
It's not just we're done because they don't want to do more, but because it was really, really good. I mean, it's right in line. I don't need some In fact, I don't want some highly produced, perfect sounding thing. This is just so much better for us. Oh, I loved it.
That's the backstory behind the Warm It Up Chris song.
I tell you what, when tracks don't line up, it's infuriating.
Yeah, it's infuriating.
Oh man! So I feel.
And sometimes there's no rhyme or reason around it either. It's just like sometimes it just does. Even with the tools you can have to realign them, they weren't working that day for whatever reason. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try to do this and sing it ahead of it, and ended up working out fine.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Well, welcome to the show. We're glad that you are back today, my friend. And Les, tell everybody where you're from, what you do, and something fun about yourself.
All right. Well, Les Chrisman from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I work for the largest online retailer as a package QA. And something fun about myself, a little bit of a jack of all trades. I have, worked in radio as a disc jockey, and for a while I actually was a professional wrestler, which if anyone knows, I use my ring name as my name on social media because my employers don't know that I was a professional wrestler, because I originally started all my social media as accounts so fans could follow me, but since I've been away from the ring, I just never bothered to change it back. Yeah, just a little bit of a jack of all trades in that area.
How professional of a wrestler were you?
I worked a lot of independent shows in my local area. Unfortunately, I never got to work with any of the major companies, but I did it for quite a while, like 5-6 years.
Woo.
Before quote unquote real life kind of took me away from it, and then just wasn't able to get back in.
Man, you do wrestling and disc jockey work. That's more than jack of all trades. Those are two extremes.
Well, I have to make use of my voice somehow.
I love it. Well, we're glad that you are here. Thanks for joining us today. All right, guys. So I think it's time. It's kind of all of us are feeling kind of early in the morning right now. So I think it's time for us to knock the rust off here and get going with Matt Stevens' own Warm It Up Chris.
It's time to warm it up on Trivial Warfare today. And there's only one person who can warm it up for the TWA, and that's Chris. And sometimes Jonathan.
Playing the part of Chris today would be me. So we are recording this on Mother's Day. Today happens to be Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to all moms, all people who act as moms to be. Happy Mother's Day to you. So I have a list of TV moms. I'm going to give you the name of the mom. I would like you to give me the name of the television show.
Okay.
Oof.
Cool. I like it.
And we are going to start with Matthew.
Ooh, okay.
Your name is Kitty Foreman.
That is that 70s show.
That is that 70s show. Great job.
I'm glad you got that one.
Zahkia, you get Sophia Petrillo.
Ooh, that's Estelle Getty on the Golden Girls.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Great job. All right, Les, you get Samantha Stevens.
Samantha Stevens, that would be Darren's wife from Bewitched.
Absolutely. That is Bewitched. Great job.
Carmela, we hear people say all the time, I knew all of them until I got to mine, right? for me, it's the opposite. I've known none of them, and now it's mine. So we'll see.
Well, let's see if you get this one. Jill Taylor.
I do know. It's Home Improvement.
This is Home Improvement. Good
Tim
job.
the Toolman Taylor and Jill. I loved her.
Matt, you get June Cleaver.
It's Leave It to Beaver.
Leave It to Beaver. Great job. Zahkia, Lorelai Gilmore.
That's Gilmore Girls.
Absolutely. Great job. Les, you get Rainbow Johnson.
Ooh. No clue on that one.
I think I know.
Anybody want to give Les a hand?
Is this is there a color in the name of this show?
There is.
There is. Does that help, Les?
It doesn't at all.
All right. I think this is Blackish.
This is Blackish.
Yeah, I've never seen it, so.
All right, Jonathan, you get Florida Evans.
Good Times.
Good Times, absolutely.
Yeah. Dang, dang, dang. I was imitating Chris, imitating Ben, imitating the show just now.
Matt, you have Claire Dunphy.
I don't think I know that one.
Dunphy sounds familiar.
I think I know this one. Is this a show with a very large ensemble cast with a bunch of different family units?
Yes, absolutely. This is just one of the moms on this show.
Is it Modern Family?
It is Modern Family.
Okay.
She's like, it's a very current story about family units.
Zahkia, you get Lucille Bluth.
I've never watched this show, but I know about the banana stand. I think this is Arrested Development.
This is Arrested Development. Great job. All right. Les, you get Laura Petrie.
That would be the Dick Van Dyke Show.
This is the Dick Van Dyke Show. Great job.
Wow.
Tripping over the ottoman every time.
All right, Jonathan. Rebecca Katsopoulos. Katsopoulos probably is the way to say it. Mm-hmm.
Rebecca Katsopoulos. So a Greek. It doesn't have to I can't think of any. I don't know. I don't have any clue. Do y'all know?
She's also referred to as someone's aunt.
Aunt Becky. Okay, Aunt Becky is a thing. Aunt Becky. Where's Aunt Becky from? Yeah. Is this Roseanne?
No.
All right, help me.
Anyone want to help him out?
It's an engulfed dwelling.
There you go.
Full House.
It's also Great Hand in Poker. It's Full House.
An engulfed dwelling. Okay.
That's funny. All right. We'll go one more time around. Matt, you get Elise Keaton.
That is Family Ties.
Family Ties. Great job. Zahkia, you have Kanga.
Awesome.
Like Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yep, Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was either that or something like Claws Out. You never know for sure.
All right, Les, you get Elizabeth McCord. And remember, these do not necessarily have to be sitcoms.
The last name is ringing something. But I'm just not pulling it direct. It's right there. Son of a gun.
Maybe they go by Liz or Eliza or something like that.
Yeah, I'm just not pulling it, unfortunately.
I don't know.
Anybody know this one?
No.
This is the main character from Madam Secretary. Which is a drama. And then Jonathan, we'll round it out with you. We'll give you this one. Carmela Soprano.
Oh, really? I will go with The Sopranos, I think.
It is Carmela Soprano.
Wow, geez.
From The Sopranos. Yep. No, I'll give you a different one. But I just like, hey, look, that's my name. My name's not Soprano, though. Let's give you Cookie Lion.
Cookie Lion Empire.
That is Empire. Great job, everyone.
Nice.
Woo!
That's a good list. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. I was like, TV moms, we could do that today.
Absolutely. Oh, and it is Mother's Day. So we love all of our mothers, obviously. We love all of your mothers. Mothers are awesome. They are the reason we are here, and we are thankful. So we are going to have a great time today. Like I said, this is episode number 376. So this is on the main feed. Big shout out to everybody listening. Thank you. If you want more Trivial Warfare, you can go to trivialwarfarearmy.com and sign up, $5 a month level or above, and you get access to our full archives. There are lots and lots and lots of episodes that you cannot hear anywhere else. You'll have your own exclusive feed with all of that content on it. So go to trivialwarfarearmy.com to check that out. And remember, you can play along with today's game. We have an awesome app that we use for this called Trivia-Matic. Download the Trivia-Matic app, hit play now, and enter code blank that I'm going to fill in later. And you'll be able to play along as Carmela asks the question. So you'll hit next, you'll move on to the next question. And it's not some multiple choice weird thing. It's just like playing the show. So give that a try if you think you'll enjoy it. And I think it's time to get today's game started. So today's game, it's going to be Zahkia and Matt versus Les and Jonathan. Carmela's hosting. And it's time to play the game.
Players. Oh, yeah. Y'all know what time it is.
This is Mr. Literature himself, cordially inviting you to the game. This is 6 rounds of trivia goodness, 3 questions per round. Every right answer gets you 10 points. In the middle, we'll take a pause for the cause and ask a midpoint question worth up to 20 juicy points. After round 6, you can wager any or all those points you've been building up and take a shot at the final round. It's a series of theme-based questions we call the Gauntlet. It's just that easy, baby. But this game ain't gonna play itself, players. Let's get it on.
All right, let's get into first category, round 1. Category is Humble Origins. What exercise, a staple of gym classes across the United States, is commonly associated with General John J. Pershing, but most likely received its name from a jointed, flat, wooden children's toy?
Yeah, we can lock in.
Okay. So, Les, I was saying a jointed, flat, wooden children's toy. I can't think of something that's flat that has joints. That means it would fold around. Zahkia's breaking the rules. Look at her.
My kid is like playing dangerously close to the door, and while he's joyous, I don't want him like shrieking and saying it's funny, and you'll hear that in the background.
Actually, that would be so adorable. I want that. So you let that happen. That'd be wonderful. God, you don't know how cool that is when that kind of thing happens. It's only when it's like a lot for a long time that it's a problem. So anyway, let's so burpees just seem like the kind of exercise that has a name. You're like, where the hell did that name come from? Because it doesn't make any sense. For me, it's always been like you're holding one of the half moon balls or one of like half balls, and basically laying down in a push up position, and then jumping your legs under you, standing up, and then going back down into that flat position. I'm trying to think of how that could be a children's toy, but I have no connection to it. But I can't think of any other. I mean, is it a sit up? Is it a push up? Is it what kind of exercise gym staples have names that have children's toy references? Do you have any idea?
I really don't. As soon as you mentioned burpees, I thought about the motion, and it's like a squat down, and then you throw your legs out, go down into a push-up position, come back up, bring the legs back in. So it is that kind of hinged motion. So that kind of rang true. So it sounds as good as anything, really.
I guess that's where we're at. So we'll go ahead and say burpees.
Okay. Matt and Zahkia.
So Matt had the answer, but I have to say something about burpees. That my last time recording a Trivial Warfare episode, I was afraid that my brain was getting a little too mushy. So I did, during the break, I went into the kitchen and did 10 burpees. And
this was yesterday, by the way. You did this yesterday? My God. He's like, I'm not performing at the level I want to perform at. Let me get some blood rushing to my brain.
But yeah, Matt was the architect behind this answer, and it's a fantastic one.
I believe that General Pershing went by the name Jack, so I believe that this is Jumping Jacks.
A common nickname for John is Jack. This is Jumping Jacks. Great job.
The first thing I said to Les was his nickname is Blackjack. So I was thinking Blackjack. I couldn't think of how. Damn it.
I didn't think about Jacks either. So.
Oh, that's disappointing, but good deal.
All right. Your next category is, that's a mouthful. Mahershala Hashbaz is the longest name used in what extremely well-selling book? And I can spell that if you want me to.
Actually, I would.
MAHERSHALL-BAZ. Mahershala Hashbaz.
Oh.
I think we're actually good.
You're 100% on that?
I got full meow meows on that.
Oh, well, then never mind. What am I doing here? Meow meow. That's early. We're going to log in.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
So I'm thinking this might be the Quran. I was just thinking like extremely well selling. I guess it's kind of weird that I don't think of like religious texts as selling.
Sure. Yeah.
But I mean, like someone has to buy them because they're printed. So and
I would think it's going to be either the Bible or the Quran, because it could absolutely be the Old Testament as well.
Yeah, it could be. So I'm going to butcher the pronunciation too. So I'm going to try and break this down. Mahershala makes me think of Mahershala Ali a little bit. And I know he changed his name because I think he is Muslim. And Al-Shabazz makes me think of Betty Shabazz, which is the wife of Malcolm X. So I'm thinking this might be the Quran.
I like it. Yep, I'm for it. Let's go.
Okay, let's lock in Quran.
All right. So, having grown up in the Deep South, and very, very, very much made to attend church every like week, twice a week without fail. One of the things we learned about a lot was characters from the Old Testament in the Bible. And that person actually was the second son of Isaiah. And so that's why I had no hesitation with the meow meows on the Bible.
All right. You can find this name in the book of Isaiah. The answer is the Bible.
Whoa. And I'm going to tell you right now, I have plenty of time and plenty of churches and plenty of Bible reading. Isaiah's second son's name, not something I was going to be aware of. Holy moly. That was sick.
But I totally understand the logic behind saying the Quran too. That's why I was like checking. I'm like, is it also in the Quran?
I love the breakdown.
Like, let me just make sure. But because I'm like, that makes total sense to me. Maybe I'm wrong. All right. Your last category in the round is, will you accept the charges? What president was the first to make a telephone call to the moon to speak to the astronauts in the lunar service using a green telephone now displayed in their presidential library?
Carmela, is this the only president that's ever made a call to the moon?
Not necessarily, but it was the first one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gotta be that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we'll lock in.
Okay.
So, yeah. Matt.
Yeah.
So you're saying Ford seems logical, which is cool. Yeah. Ford is, his presidential library is in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Hey, Rep Michiganders.
The Michigan stuff.
But I have never been. I've seen it, so I can't say if there's a green phone.
Well,
I guess
a green phone in Grand Rapids would make a lot of sense, right?
Why?
Isn't that where Michigan State is?
No.
Oh, no. Zahkia went to Michigan State. You're in trouble now.
Well,
no, you're fine. Michigan State's in Lansing. It's about an hour.
In Lansing. That's right. Oh, yeah, I knew that.
But,
all right.
So I was thinking, like, is this the trick? And is this, like...
I don't think it's going to be on the first... 11, I don't think they wouldn't have had that infrastructure set up at that point.
Yeah, I get that, but I'm just trying to think of, maybe this is me and my lack of knowledge of like who's actually been to space. Like how many manned missions to the moon where you would actually need to make a call.
Yeah, that's fair. But I believe it's 12 total people have been on the moon. And that would make it somewhere around 4 to 5 total missions. 5 to 6 total missions. But I can't believe that it would be the first one.
Yeah, I'm with you that like the first one seems like unlikely, but like, ooh. Huh.
Then again, that could have been something that it would have been Nixon, right?
Yeah.
So it would have been absolutely something he would have been like. He could have been like, well, make sure when they get, we're breaking new ground here. Make sure when they get there, I can call them and say good job. But I don't know.
Is there some significance to the green, like the green part of the phone?
It feels like she wouldn't have put that in there if there wasn't, but I don't.
Yeah, I can't think of like a green president. Oh, maybe Jimmy Carter. Because he's like environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
He had a phone made of peanut shells.
We are going to need to come to something fairly soon.
Okay.
I don't have anything better than Ford. I can go with Ford if since that's...
Yeah, I mean I feel like it's a crapshoot, but I think Ford's probably because it'd be in the middle of them.
Sure, let's lock in with Ford and have some good old Michigan luck.
Yeah, right.
So Les, my thinking, I'm not sure. I might be wrong about this statement, and if I am, Carmela will correct me. I feel like all of the moon landings were between 1969 and 1973. When Matt said, "Hey, there's only been 12 people who were on the moon," it's like, that sounds about right. And they were all Apollo missions, and they were all in a short period. I don't recall other ones. And if that's true, which I think it might be, then it literally has to be Nixon, because 68 to 74 is Nixon. So,
right, exactly.
So that's why we answered Richard Nixon.
The first telephone call made to the moon happened on July 20th, 1969. So the first landing on the moon. And that was indeed Richard Nixon. The last moon landing happened at the end of 1972, which also falls within Nixon's presidency. So Nixon is what we were looking for here.
Yep.
Great pull.
And there have been 6 missions that have landed successfully on the moon. In the Apollo program.
That makes sense, because 3 total astronauts, 2 going down, 12 people.
Yeah. Right. So that's the end.
Darn.
That is the end of round 1. Jonathan and Les have 20 points. Zahkia and Matt have 10. Getting into round 2, your first category is science.
Science.
In 1977 at Cornell, Dustin W. Carr managed to create what instrument using nanotechnology, though it would have been entirely too small to be used by the likes of Alex Lifeson?
I have Meow Mouse.
Also forgot there was a literal musician in this game.
All right. Oh, boy. Okay, so y'all locked in?
Yep.
Cool. Les, do you know who Alex Lifeson is?
I do not.
The name is familiar.
Yeah, unless that's the real name for somebody that goes by a stage name, I'm not really sure.
I've definitely heard the name before, but I don't know. So, creating an instrument using nanotechnology. I don't even understand. But okay, Alex Lifeson is definitely a person. I don't think it's a pseudonym. I think it's this person's name. I think it's a member of a band, and it's not going to be a microphone, because that's not a lead singer's name that I can think of. So either bass, lead, or drums, because it's that kind of band that I'm feeling like fits here, like a 70s band, like. She said Cornell. What state is Cornell in? Is it in Massachusetts?
I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
Thinking about instruments that could have, any kind of electronics, I don't think that anything like keyboards would benefit from nanotechnology, because those are honking pieces of equipment.
Hold on, Les. I got an idea.
Uh-huh.
What about the band Rush? There's 2 people in Rush that everybody knows. Geddy Lee,
right.
Neil Peart. There's a 3rd member of Rush that nobody can remember. And I could be completely super awesome wrong, but something's telling me that this 3rd member of Rush might be Alex Lifeson. Neil Peart plays drums.
Right.
And Geddy Lee did lead vocals, and I think he played some guitar, but Alex Lifeson could be the bassist. That's
You know what?
God, I don't know Rush well enough to know who plays what instruments, which is really irritating. But I'd lean towards bass guitar.
Yeah, after you said Rush enlisted Gay Lee and the other guy, I immediately was like, okay, so you got the vocalist, you got the guitarist, and I know they have some sort of, they're definitely electronic based or have that kind of sound with their music. So yeah, I would absolutely feel comfortable going with like a guitar, or maybe not narrow it down to bass or anything like that, but just say guitar. I'd feel absolutely comfortable with that.
All right. Well, I guess she would ask us for more information because there's a lead, a rhythm, and a bass. We could say guitar. All right, Carmela, we'll say guitar.
All right, cool. Matt and Zahkia.
Well, Neil Peart is definitely the drummer in the band Rush, and Geddy Lee is definitely the bass guitar player in the band Rush, and Alex Lifeson is definitely the guitar player in the band Rush, and how dare you?
Wow.
Oh, Les, you saved us. You saved us.
If you would have said bass, that would have been so wrong.
I would have counted bass wrong, but it is guitar. Everyone forgets Alex Lifeson, even though he's the one who like makes those really cool, guitar solos in those songs. But yeah, it was a guitar, and it's about this. I wrote the year wrong. I wrote 1977. It's actually 1997, but that has no bearing on the answer. But it's
Cornell's in New York, by the way.
Yeah,
I grew up about 20 minutes from it.
Yeah, it's in Ithaca. It's about the size of a red blood cell, and they were able to strum the strings using a laser. So, but it's like the smallest guitar ever made was just this tiny nano guitar.
They were able to strum the strings with a laser?
Yeah, using a laser.
Hey, Mom, look, I'm using a freaking laser guitar.
In a frequency that we would not be able to hear because it's so high. But yeah, they were able to strum it using a laser.
Crazy. That's crazy.
Yep. Absolutely
that's
nuts.
Such a cool clue because it's a whole nother question within, but it's just a hint because it's a hard question within if you don't have any context too.
Yeah, really, it's just figuring out who Alex Lifeson is, and everybody forgets him, even though he's totally cool. All right, your next category in the round is Need for Speed. In 2017, the Koenigsegg Agera became the fastest production model car, capable of reaching speeds up to 277.87 miles per hour, or for our friends outside of the United States, that's 447.19 kilometers per hour. It dethroned the Veyron Supersport that held that honor for 7 years and was manufactured by what French car company founded by an Italian?
To be clear, you're asking for the make of the car that got dethroned?
Yeah, so what company makes the Veyron Supersport?
That's the best.
Do you want to lock it in?
Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We'll lock it in.
Okay, so Les, Italian car makers, they're everywhere, right? When it comes to old brands, and so things like Lamborghini and Ferrari to come up quickly. The two of them that came to mind, so Alfa Romeo is, I believe, going to come from an Italian creator. The name that came to my mind with the most weight behind it, because it sounds like a French name or sounds like a French company, is Peugeot. I don't know if it was founded by an Italian, but Peugeot is the one that I believe they make fast cars, and I believe they're French. That's the best I can contribute. I have no real knowledge of this, and I don't have enough info on the clue to be sure of it. You suggested Bugatti, it looks like?
Yeah, because I was just thinking about car manufacturers and ones that, make high-end cars, and disregarding, where the company is, that it was founded by an Italian. And I really couldn't think of a more Italian-sounding name because I didn't even pull Lamborghini or anything like that. Because those definitely sound that way. But Bugatti sounded like the most Italian thing to me that jumped out at me right away. So that was my logic and thinking there. Just thinking of the higher end car manufacturers, and that's the one that really leaped out.
Do you have any reason to believe it's French, though?
No, not really. I'm just going off of the clue, which was a French car company founded by an Italian. They wouldn't necessarily name the company something in the language of the country of origin, so that's why I was thinking Bugatti.
Yeah, and I get it.
We're going to need something soon.
Oh, God. Okay. I don't know. If you feel strongly about Bugatti, we can do that. If I was answering by myself, I'd probably say Peugeot. But I don't have any reason to believe either one of them's correct.
Yeah. Just going off of the founder being Italian, that's what lead me away. Peugeot. So yeah, I think probably Bugatti's going to be our best bet.
All right, sure, we can do that.
Okay.
So I was going down Jonathan's thing where I was trying to think of French car companies. Peugeot definitely came up, and Citroën, I think, is another French one. But Carmela said the name of the car, the Veyron, something like that. I'm like, I know that from somewhere. I think I know this from a Lana Del Rey song.
Right.
I think it's in the Lana Del Rey song, National Anthem. And I think she says Bugatti Veyron. And Bugatti makes sense. I know it's an Italian name. And I've been to Italy. I've spent a lot of time there. And I remember coming across Ferraris and Lamborghinis, but I think Bugatti might actually be French despite having an Italian name. And hopefully the Lana Del Rey lyric I'm remembering correctly, and I think it's Bugatti.
So Peugeot, which is the name of the car company you all keep saying, it was founded by Armand Peugeot, which is French. Bugatti is headquartered in Alsace, which is part of France, and they make the Bugatti Veyron, which was the Super Sport was the fastest car up until this one took it over in 2017. So both teams got that correct. Great job.
That's really good.
That was a complete pull from the recesses. Holy cow.
Zahkia, you're allowed to celebrate out loud, by the way. Zahkia does a copious amount of vigorous movement to celebrate. It's all very quiet.
I just don't want to knock something over. Really.
I mean, both of you got there in really, really cool ways. I'm really glad that I went with you. That's really good work. You had it in there somewhere.
Ettore Bugatti was the founder of Bugatti back in 1909. It's a very old company. Very old. So old that it was actually a German company initially, because that's who Alsace belonged to. The company is that old.
Makes sense.
So your last question in the round. Fear my antiquated death ray.
Uh-oh.
Though the crew at Mythbusters showed that it wasn't very effective, what Greek mathematician supposedly developed an array of mirrors used to focus sunlight and defend his native Syracuse from attacking ships?
God, oh yeah, me too, dude. Me too. I didn't see anything from you, but let's write it down so we're both in agreement with our meow meows.
Yep.
Hold on, neither one of us has read it yet.
We were doing it psychically.
Well, I need you to do it physically.
Yes, I'm doing it. Yeah, all right, we agree.
All right, upstate New York. What you got for me?
I know.
What you got, Syracuse? What you been defending?
There's a Syracuse here. By the way, we don't pronounce it Syracuse. It's Syracuse. Very hard A's in Western New York.
There's a lot of hard A's in New York.
If you say Greek mathematician, I automatically think Pythagoras.
I think Pythagoras, but also Archimedes. Is he the gold guy, the Eureka guy? I think he was a mathematician too. But
he was an alchemist, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. But like, I don't know, alchemists, mathematicians, all those guys had like multiple jobs back then.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I like Pythagoras because I feel like I've heard something like this before, like in 8th grade, math. Like, it's in protecting Syracuse. I'm like, oh yeah, I know what Syracuse is. It's at Orange College.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm like, okay, if I feel like if I've heard this before, and I don't remember hearing about any other Greek mathematicians until later in life, I'm okay going with Pythagoras.
Yeah, I feel like that's got to be the knee jerk at least, or Euclid.
What's the other one? Euclid? Is he Greek?
Yeah. I think so, but that's geometry.
Isn't Pythagoras geometry?
Yeah,
geometry is not my thing.
I feel like it's got to be. I mean, I feel like Pythagoras is the most knee-jerky, obvious thing.
Yeah, but Euclid is like interesting and trivia-like. Everybody knows Pythagoras, but how many people know Euclid?
Yeah. And I always get them mixed up.
Yeah. I've done a messy coin toss on this before.
I know, me too. Let's go with your childhood Syracuse memory and just go with Pythagoras.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Pythagoras is not the person that Les and I had meow meows about. Did you see this Mythbusters episode, Les?
Oh, I have watched and rewatched this episode like countless times.
I remember it too. Go ahead and tell them about it.
All right. It's been a while, so details are a little fuzzy. But they were, of course, trying to prove that to see if the quote-unquote death ray would be able to light something on fire, like in a bay. And the name that kept like pounding out like during the whole thing, because they talked about this guy incessantly during the whole thing, like because of the math that was used to put together the mirrors for the ray, and because they had to be aligned absolutely perfectly to even be able to focus or attempt to focus the way they wanted it to. And the name that kept coming out was Archimedes.
Oh,
yep. I totally on board. We said Archimedes.
He's probably more famous for shouting Eureka, figuring out buoyancy. And famously from Syracuse, Sicily, Archimedes of Syracuse. So good job, Jonathan and Les. Yeah, they tried to focus it, and the distance that in the story that they put the ship out, the same distance, couldn't do anything with it. Then they have the distance, and they made the ship stand like the boat like perfectly still, and they lit it on fire a little bit, and then finally they threw a Molotov cocktail on it, and the ship went up.
Kind of like how I barbecue.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? Let's just throw fire at it. And actually, they went back and they rebusted it again, like because there was a where they were going back and pulling up old Mythbusters to that people like disagreed, like, oh well, you should have done it this way, like you should have done it this way, or you should have done it this way. And then they did it again, and they proved again that there's no way that this would have worked according to what was laid out in the story. So
it's a shame too, but honestly, if somebody had invented a death ray using the sun and mirrors, that thing would have been popular.
Mm-hmm.
Think about every city.
It's also like unwieldy.
Yeah, every city on the water would want their death ray, and every city on land would be like, hey, why can't we do that with people? So, I mean, just think about logically, if it was true, we'd have had some lasers way earlier in our human existence.
Oh, yeah.
Freaking laser beams.
Mm-hmm. Attached to their freaking head.
Well, that is the end of the second round. Jonathan and Les have 50. Zahkia and Matt have 30. So we have a good game so far.
Here we go.
First category in round 3, binge watching. With the release of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness this past Friday, how many films within one have been released in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Oh, God.
Cool. I have a clarifying question.
Okay.
Is it about Black Widow?
No. Well, okay. Are we talking feature films?
I am talking about
are
feature films.
Are we talking about films that have become canon since the creation of the MCU?
No, that
so
wouldn't
they
be
technically
right.
came out before the MCU, but they've been retroactively enveloped in the MCU.
No, I would say starting from Iron Man forward.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Did you say within one?
Within one. You have a little bit of leeway. Not much, but a little bit.
Yeah, but we're not going to get it by going all the way back and trying to remember every single one of them.
Right.
Yeah, so that's why I'm trying to give us a starting point that's more recent.
Well, I think that what you said so far actually does make sense, especially with the addition that you put in there.
We are going to need to come to something soon, y'all.
We will not.
This is your rule, dude.
All right, I think we're good to lock in.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
based on that list, I think I remember seeing when Endgame came out, like that. I think that had 28. I'm not entirely sure. And then we were trying to count the movies from there. We got Shang-Chi, Eternals, the 2 Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Widow. So how many is that? 6?
6.
So yeah.
So 34.
34. I want to say 35,
Sure.
maybe, just to have a nice clean number for a.
Yep, I like it.
All right. 35, Carmela. Lock
All
that
right.
in.
Okay, from our side, I feel like the number of the counting around Endgame was in the 23 range. And after that, I was able to list out Black Widow, Shang-Chi, the Eternals, a couple of Spider-Man movies, and the new Doctor Strange movie. And so we were 23 plus 6, probably forgot 1 or 2 things, but we locked in with 29.
So the number was said, but the correct number, Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, is number 28 in the MCU. So Jonathan and Les, y'all get credit with 29. There are 5 more movies set to come out between now and the end of 2023.
Oh, jeez.
And that's
I
not
feel like-
including Fantastic Four, which still has a TBD on it.
I feel like that 28 number was including the retroactive X-Men stuff, which is why I was asking about that earlier.
No,
I
it doesn't.
counted them, and it does not include any of the X-Men.
Absolutely not. The MCU, that's why I was trying with Les, I was saying, I think 23, somewhere in there, because I remember like being aware of all of them when Endgame came out. And actually, I think the last Spider-Man movie ended the first wave, and then you're adding from there.
The first phase of the Marvel movies was the first 2 Iron Man movies, the first Captain America movie, the remake of Incredible Hulk, and Thor, and the first Avengers movie. So I was, my whole thought process with that was, okay, figuring up those movies, and then just trying to piece together where the other phase was. Phase 3, I think, had the most movies in it. Putting all those together, plus the 6 that you were able to pull, Jonathan, that's how we came to 29, which we were just one off, so.
Yeah, I went, when I wrote the question, I went and counted, just to make sure that the number was correct, and none of the X-Men movies were in what I counted.
No, yeah, I believe that. What I was trying to say was, I think the number that I saw that I agreed with Zahkia on, that around 28, after it did include the X-Men.
Oh, did include those. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were asking because they might be retroactively bringing the old Spider-Man movies in because of the appearance of those characters in the new Spider-Man movie.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So when you asked that question, I thought that's where you were going.
No, it was for me. It was all the X-Men canon that is planned on being involved in the MCU total.
All right. I am now, I've said this before, but Waco and I and his kids, we went back over, it's like from the end of July forward, like caught up on all of the MCU. And we had caught up and then we started doing something else, and then life happened and we've kind of fallen off of the routine. So now we're 2 movies behind. So we haven't seen the last Spider-Man and now this one, and we still have to watch Moon Knight, which I really want to watch Moon Knight.
Oh, Moon Knight's so good.
So
I'm so far behind.
Oh, we were 2.5 phases behind before we decided like this is what we're gonna do.
I just skip around.
We watched 26 movies, like a bunch of TV shows. Like we did the whole thing. It was a Herculean effort that I'm actually surprised that we managed to get through it in the amount of time that we did.
I'm trying to watch them all in like storyline order. And that's even a more Herculean effort because you have to figure out exactly what order they fall in because the way they figured that out was all the like teasers at the end of the movie, like tying those in and watching them in that way. It makes for some interesting watching for sure because it's like one continuity. But yeah, it's quite a feat.
But yeah, 5 more before the end of 2023. So it's going. All right, your next category is Christmas in May. The popular Christmas song Silver Bells was composed in 1950 by Jay Livingston and Ray Evans. It originally had a different word instead of silver in the title, but Livingston's wife dissuaded him from using the word. What is this word? While it describes a sound a bell might make, is more likely to be used by a potty training parent. To bring it back to Mother's Day.
I was thinking that might be where it was going. All right, we can lock in.
So I told Matt that I better learn this soon because I'm about to potty train my kids, so I'm going to think about it. Mm-hmm. But with that clue, I can only think of toilet bells and poopy bells and
poopy bells, poopy bells.
Well,
it's Christmas time in the.
Jonathan.
You were trying to interrupt him like, no, I'm getting to this punchline.
I should have known better because I should have thought I had to be like, oh, I know where he's going. I mean, we're going to go real childish, I guess, but the next line, Erita, is ding-a-ling. So I don't know if they like the. She said something about it's the sound a bell may make.
Yeah. So bells ring out, right?
Yeah.
Ring. And ring-a-ling is in the song and ding-a-ling.
Yes. Yeah. I know, right?
Oh my goodness. I mean, you can find a ding-a-ling in the toilet. Sure. But I'm
trying to think of it.
Ring. Ding dong bell.
Yeah.
I am a 4-year-old.
Well, I think that's where we have to be to get this question right.
But ding dong bells, ding dong bells.
It fits syllabically.
Yeah, but it's
just
clunky, isn't it?
Yeah, it is kind of clunky. Maybe that's why his wife had him change it.
Okay, what else do bells do? By the way, I was in the handbell choir in 5th grade.
Oh, yeah, you were.
Yeah, and my music teacher would be so ashamed of me if I can't remember all the terms for, like, the bells ringing out.
So, sound is not, I mean, that's not a
sound a bell makes. Ding bells, dong bells. Ding dong bell. Ding dong, ding dong. That feels very Christmassy.
It does.
And to be fair, I think I think I'm on train ding dong right now.
So she also
Team Ding Dong.
Yeah, Team Ding Dong.
Oh, good.
That's the name of your episode. Team Ding Dong.
It really is. I was just going to write it down.
Oh, goodness.
We are going to need something soon, though.
She also said Christmas in May. And I'm guessing, is that just because now we're in May and it's Mother's Day, and that's just related to Mother's Day?
Mama bells. And that's I mean, mothers can happen outside of potty training, so I don't think that would be the clue. Like, I hate to say this, but the reason why I'm on Ding Dong right now is because there are other Christmas songs that say Ding Dong, Ding Dong. So
yeah, I think
childish as it is, maybe Ding Dong bells.
I'm for it. We might as well we got to be done anyway, right? So
yeah.
Ding Dong, lock it in.
All right, Ding Dong bells, got it. Les and Jonathan.
All right. So, yeah, we definitely went with the sound that bells make. And to relate it to potty training, lots of moms will ask their little boys or little girls, say, do you need to go tinkle? Do you need to go tinkle? Tinkling bells, tinkling bells. So we said tinkling.
So apparently the way that the story goes is when Mr. Livingston went home and was telling his wife about the song, she goes, you absolutely cannot use that word. It means that they have to pee. So the word I'm looking for here is tinkle.
Now, okay, so Carmela, I don't know if you give us credit then, because we said tinkling, not tinkle bells. We said tinkling bells, legitimately.
I'll count it.
Okay.
It works.
I like ding dong.
Yeah, ding dong is funny though.
I've heard that.
Also on Team Ding Dong.
Yeah.
Your last category in the round is pre-viral marketing. In January 1991, the owner of KLSK-FM in New Mexico got the idea to ring in the switch from the station being centered on New Age to classic rock by playing what 1971 song by an English rock band that is nearly 8 minutes long for 24 hours straight?
This is something that I have learned, like going through my circles, Jonathan. Yeah.
Well, send it to me.
Aren't you from New Mexico?
Exactly.
And he used to be a disc jockey. Okay, so you're confident?
100%.
All right, we're locked in with apparently we have meows.
You're hurt your hand this episode.
I'm telling you, a lot of violence.
So, I mean, thinking about long songs, the first thing that popped into my head was Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah. Like Stairway to Heaven is long. 1971. That's right. That seems like the right time period. First, I was thinking, I make a joke that the reason why I've never sang Cashmere by Led Zeppelin at karaoke is because it is fully 8 minutes long, and I didn't want to torture people. But I feel like that is a menacing song to have for 24 hours straight.
Sure. And I feel like it's going to be I mean, Cashmere is definitely a popular song, but I feel like this is going to be a monster, right? If you're making hey, we're a classic rock, you're making that distinction. I feel like this is going to have to be one of the biggest of all time.
Yeah. My only concern with Stairway is that, is it longer than 8 minutes?
In my mind, I had Stairway somewhere around. I know it's over 7. I'm positive it's over 7. I'm trying to think. I mean, long songs traditionally, American Pie, Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald,
November Rain.
Well, that's not going to come out in 71. But I mean, Edmund Fitzgerald and American Pie both are in that time as well.
So English, 1971. That's Led Zeppelin.
Sure.
That's
Stones.
The Stones.
It's post Beatles, but Stones don't really have long songs. They're a pop rock band.
Is Gimme Shelter really long?
Yeah, but it's not 9. It's not 8 minutes, 9 minutes long. It's probably 4.5, 5, which is a long song as far as radio is concerned. But no, it's not that long.
We're gonna need something soon, guys.
I know Stairway is more than 7. I'm positive Stairway is more than 7.
Yeah, and a New Age station. Yeah, let's try Stairway to Heaven. That works.
All right, Jonathan and Les.
All right. So the story goes, guy by the name of John Sebastian, who is not in no relation to the singer from The Lovin' Spoonful, wanted to really, since they were making the change, think of something that was going to be completely off the wall and give people a reason to tune in. It worked so well, they even had the police called to the station because they were afraid that the DJ had a heart attack. And that's the reason the song was being played over and over again. But yeah, the answer is Stairway to Heaven.
Do you know what? That's brilliant. From back then, 1991, literally, if you heard the same song again and again and again, you'd start calling your friends. You'd say, because you didn't have text messages, you'd be like, hey, have you listened to Power 91 lately? They're playing the same song again and again. I mean, they can't just keep doing this, right? No, dude, I've been listening for 2 hours. They have not stopped. That's how that would go.
Yeah, when I was in college, there was a DJ who was in the same fraternity as I was that decided to say sayonara to the station he was at. So for the weekend, because he was the closing shift, he put My Heart Will Go On, and it played for almost 72 hours.
Oh, my God.
Oh, no.
It was horrid.
So he was supposed to switch over to some kind of automated content coming down from satellite, and he did not.
He did not.
Wow.
So when this was going on, everything that Les said is absolutely what I have written down, but there's a little bit more. It developed some interesting conspiracy theories of while it was happening, including thinking that the DJ had a heart attack, also including that they thought that Saddam Hussein was attacking that particular radio station. Like he had sent people to attack that radio station. The cops were called twice. And as a result, the station's ratings skyrocketed. So like this was like the best viral marketing thing that they could have done, just to play this one song for 24 hours. But it was absolutely Stairway to Heaven, which clocks in at 7 minutes and 55 seconds.
Wow. That's a really, really cool story. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
I thought that was awesome. I was like, yeah, I'm asking about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say that the reason that I know Stairway is above 7 minutes is I have a friend who, he was a former soldier of mine, that he was going back to his post from being on leave and driving through the mountains in North Carolina. And he said he had a standard car, and he put it in, the Stairway started at the top of a mountain, and he put it in neutral and turned the engine off and listened to the 7.5 plus minutes of Stairway to Heaven with his car off going down this mountain. And it was like entirely like the whole trip down the mountain was like almost the exact length of the song.
Wow.
Was he trying to get there by car? Holy cow.
All right, that is the end of the third round. Jonathan and Les have 80 points. Zahkia and Matthew have 40.
We're not doing great.
Your midpoint category is obligatory sports question.
All right.
Football.
There have been 5 quarterbacks that have won a playoff game after the age of 40, according to statmuse.com. I want you to name those 5 quarterbacks. So they won a playoff game after they turned 40. Doesn't necessarily mean that's the only time they've won a playoff game, but they did win one after they turned 40.
You want us to name 4 of them?
I want you to name all 5.
Yeah, okay. Do you want to go with those 5?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me write them down real quick.
I'm willing to do the 5, with the last one being the one that I said I would lean to.
All right, cool. Let's go with it.
All right, cool. All right.
Well, they're locked in, so if you want to start.
All right, sure. Yeah. So Manning and Brady are where you're going to start this list. The current quarterbacks seem to be older in general than the older quarterbacks were when they retired. Brett Favre for the either Jets or Vikings, we feel like might have done it. And probably the Vikings, that was the later part of his career. Then the last 2 spots, we think Drew Brees. I think Drew Brees won one in the last couple of years before retiring, and he was 40, 41-ish. And then the last one that I pushed for was, I think Doug Flutie was like 40 or 41 with the Bills at the end of his career and might have won one scrambling around as a 40-year-old man. So we went with Manning, Brady, Flutie, Favre, and Brees.
I know. Yes, Doug Flutie was with the Bills in his early 40s, but the Bills were in the midst of a 21-year playoff drought at that point. There's a Western New York stat for you.
You know what? I should have remembered that. The Bills are terrible. I thought he had a couple of good years.
They're pretty great right now. He had great years, but they never made the playoffs. So, yeah, you're right. Brady and Manning for sure. And then we decided to go with, pretty sure Elway got one right at the end of his career. He got a Super Bowl towards the end of his career, so that means he would have had to make playoff wins. I have this vague memory of Joe Montana getting one with Kansas City towards the end of his career. And then we decided to go after that with one of the greatest to ever play the position and not win a Super Bowl with Dan Marino.
So, starting at the age of 40 and working our way from youngest to oldest, Brett Favre. He was 40 years and 99 days when he won a playoff game. Next one at 40 years and 105 days, George Blanda, old school player from the Raiders.
I thought about Blanda, but I was not thinking that he did it.
Well, I'd never even heard of him. So
next at 40 years, 163 days, he's won several since then. That's Tom Brady. 41 years, 361 days, Drew Brees.
Nice.
And at 43 years, 55 days, another Patriot player, Vinnie Testaverde.
Oh man!
So
I'm pretty sure he did it when he was with the Buccaneers.
No, he was with the Buccaneers at the beginning of his career.
He did it as a Jet. I flipped the helmets around on the thing that I'm looking at. So Peyton Manning was 39. He was almost 40. He was at 39 years, 320 days. Since both of y'all said Manning, but that means that Jonathan and Les had 3. Zahkia and Matt got 1.
If we'd talked about Testaverde over Flutie, that would have been the right move for us, Les. Because Les was pushing for Testaverde, and it was between him and Breeze for our last spot, and so we went Breeze. But those older guys, the Montanas, the Elways, and we considered all of them. Warren Moon, people who started their career in a different league and came over. But it was just like, okay, well, I know Elway was drafted around 83, 84-ish, and I know that his Super Bowl was 99. I don't think he had another playoff in like 2001 or something. So it's like 38, 39, but not the 40.
Yeah.
The other, because this list has the oldest quarterbacks to win playoff games, so it goes down to 39 and then up. So, but I went from 40 up. So other people on this list: Peyton Manning was 39, Earl Morrell, Morrell, and Tom Brady did it a few times when he was 39, and the last person on this list, Mark Burnell. So
really?
Former Jaguar, but I think he was a Saint at the time
for the Saint. He wasn't. He probably didn't even play in the game, or he was the kicker. He was the holder for the kicker.
Yeah. So oldest quarterback to win playoff games. So that's your midpoint. Your score at the end of the midpoint: Jonathan and Les are at 92. Zahkia and Matthew are at 44.
Big comeback time. Here we go.
All right, that is the end of the first half of today's game. Before we get on to the second half, I want to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by SporkleCon. All right, what the heck is SporkleCon? Well, you guys know what Sporkle is. Sporkle is a website full of quizzes and trivia and games that I think most of us really enjoy. But SporkleCon takes that out of the computer, takes the pub quiz out of the pub, we're familiar with that, and puts it all in one place from September 23rd until the 25th. At the Washington Hilton in Washington, D.C. The trivia world will descend on Washington for SporkleCon, and you're going to want to be there. There's going to be something for everybody. I've seen preliminary lists of the different things that are going to be happening, the different games, the kinds of trivia, the different rooms that are going to be set up, and it is awesome. I am super pumped to see everybody there. It's going to bring together all kinds of different parts of the trivia community. There's going to be cash prizes. We're even going to have a chance to raise money for different important charities. You need to be there, and you can save some money getting there. Use the code TWA to get $20 off of a full weekend pass to SporkleCon. Now, this offer is going to expire on July 1st, so go out and sign up now. You go to sporklecon.com. That's sporklecon.com and buy your full weekend pass using the promo code TWA to get $20 off. I'll be there. I know lots of people who are planning to be there. I hope to see you there. Today's show is also sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. So all of us deal with real life, and real life can be overwhelming. Y'all, if you don't think I understand overwhelming right now, I have so many big things going on. I can't even keep track of it all. And it's like, I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm bouncing off the wall sometimes. And sometimes I feel the opposite. I feel like I just can't motivate myself to do anything. These are signs of being overwhelmed. Lack of motivation, feeling helpless, sometimes feeling trapped or tired. All of these things that could be, we could be overwhelmed for any number of reasons, but it's not good. And we can do something about it, right? We associate burnout with work. We associate it with lots of different things, but it can be anybody at any time. And setting yourself up with a counselor on BetterHelp can help you. Talking to somebody can help you to figure out, A, what's causing the stress, or B, what to do about the stress. I just met with Crystal yesterday. I'm recording this on Wednesday. I met with her for an hour on Tuesday, and it was awesome. It really helped me to focus in on things I needed to focus in on and let go of some of the things that were not productive for me. BetterHelp is a great solution for you for online therapy. You can do it with video or phone. You can do live chats. You don't even have to see them. They don't have to see you if that's your thing. Or you can both see each other on camera, on screen. No problem. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and it'll take less than 48 hours to get matched up with a therapist. You can sign up now and get 10% off of your first month of BetterHelp because you're a Trivial Warfare listener. Yeah, that's right. Trivial Warfare listeners get 10% off their first month. You just need to go to betterhelp.com/TWA. That's BetterHelp. It's spelled BETTERHELP.com/TWA, and you'll get 10% off of your first month. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling burnt out, this is something worth trying. Today's show is also sponsored by Every Plate. Every Plate is America's best value meal kit. That means that you get all the meal kit goodness with the prepackaged ingredients and the instructions and the 30 minutes or less to cook and the way that it's portioned and set out for you to make it so easy. You get all that goodness, but you get it at a good price. We're talking about like $1.79 per meal. Where else can you get a meal for $1.79? It's not possible unless you're using Every Plate. Each week you can choose between 17 different weekly recipes, and you go online and pick which things you want. You can rearrange things if you need to. Save your time. You don't have to go to the store. You don't have to know how to cook well. You can make good food just by following their instructions. And less time in the kitchen means more time spending it doing the things that you want to do or being with the people that you want to be with. I use it. I cook great meals. Now, I can cook. Not really. But when I use Every Plate, I feel like I can. Sebastian tells me I can. That's good enough for me. So here's the deal. You can try Every Plate for just $1.79 a meal. I already said that, right? $1.79 a meal by going to everyplate.com and entering code TWA179. That's right. Get started with Every Plate for just $1.79 per meal by going to everyplate.com and entering code TWA179. All right, let's get on with the second half of today's game.
So my husband just surprised me with my birthday present / Mother's Day present is a punching bag that he set up in our gym. So I decided I was gonna.
Good job, Dane.
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
Nice.
So like I got a few jabs and kicks in. So.
All right, got the energy going.
All right, let's get into round 4. Your first category. Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore. And this is brought to you by Rob Warman.
Oh, thank you, Rob.
Warman.
The Wiz was a 1978 movie that retold The Wizard of Oz through the lens of Motown. The all-black cast included Diana Ross and Michael Jackson as Dorothy and the Scarecrow. What comedian played the Wizard?
I've got so many meow meows on this, but I feel like I should probably tell Matt.
Cool, lock it in.
All right, Les, that means we could talk out loud. Do you know the answer?
I'm trying to think of comedians that were really popular around that time.
Richard Pryor.
That's the one I was thinking of, like, that was right at the tip, because that was like when he was really going.
Yeah.
But he's the one that jumped out at me straight.
I mean, I've seen The Wiz at least once, maybe twice.
Right.
I don't remember Richard Pryor, but that could just be the sands of time have washed away my full memory. I'm remembering watching it on a CRT-style TV downstairs, which means I was earlier than 13 years old before that age, so it's a long, long time. There's lots of comedians who are just passing through my mind, and none of them have anything coming close to a hook that's making me want to say them. So if you want to go with Pryor, that's fine by me.
Yeah, let's go ahead and lock in Richard Pryor.
Okay.
All right. So I will say that I made my husband sit down and watch The Wiz. His first time watching The Wiz at Thanksgiving, and his face was just like mouth agape. Like, whoa, what is this? This is a fever dream. But the comedian that plays The Wiz, I always felt like he was a little out of place. Because and he does sing a song, and then I learned very recently that this comedian was a singer at the very early in his career, and he's a great singer. Just look that up. But the guy is Mr. Richard Pryor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the guy that my dad made me listen to on that 13-hour road trip from Cleveland to Atlanta. Instead of Keith Sweat, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking for Richard Pryor here. He played the Wizard. Great job,
I didn't know he was a singer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's got a beautiful voice. Look it up. It's amazing.
Wow.
Your next category in the round is science.
Science.
In an average cat, there are 19 to 21 bones in what part of their bodies?
Do you want to lock it in?
Yep.
Okay, lock it in.
Yeah, we'll lock in.
Yeah, Les, it's got to be the tail, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. The way it moves around and is floppy as all get out. I actually have a friend of mine who has a boat ton of cats, and they keep on telling me that it's funny how she said the female cats seem to have crooked tips on their tails. But yeah, just the way it moves around and is floppy. That's what makes me think, because it's so segmented.
The crooked tip on the tail. I have a cat that has that. It is female, but it was because of ringworm. So I'm not sure if that's a genetic thing or something specific. But when Patty doesn't like to be petted in lots of ways, but if you are sitting or laying and she trusts you, then she'll come to get petted. And one of the things that she likes the most is when I'm petting her back and I pet her tail, and I just kind of grab the bottom of the top and shift my fingers a little bit so there's a little bit of pressure, and then run my hand up the tail like that. Mm-hmm. And it basically cracks all of the knuckles. And it's just you can feel it and hear a little... And so that all of those are knuckles from connections of bones. So I think it has to be the tail.
Absolutely.
So that's what we'll lock in with.
Well, we said each other the same thing, same time.
Yeah, I've got a hairless cat, a Sphinx cat. I think she's beautiful, but a lot of people think she's kind of creepy. She's got a very interesting tail, where with most furry cats, you really can't see what's going on because the hair covers it. But she can make her tail into a very tight little curly Q thing. And you can see the many little bones that make up the tail. So, like, just by looking at Chloe's tail, Chloe's my cat, I could guess they're about 19, 20 in there. So we said tail.
My cat is also a girl cat, and she doesn't have a crook in her tail, but I've been hit with it several times in the last 10 years, and there's a lot in there. But this is definitely the tail. There's on average about 19 to 21 bones in an average cat. And of course, like Manx cats don't have tails or whatever, but total in their spine, including tail, is around 50 or 49 to 51 total bones in their spine up through their tail. Wow. So almost 40% of the bones in their spine are in their tail. Like just to kind of give you an idea of how many bones are in the tail.
Old Possum's Book of Average Cats. Oh, can you imagine having a tail? A human, if your spine, if you had 20 more bones attached to the back of your spine, it was just swatting around, it would be problematic. I imagine
my dancing would be so much more fun.
It would be. Yeah. It'd be a mosh pit all day, every day. But I have so many back problems now. I can't imagine adding more bones to my spine. like please don't.
I feel like it would balance you out a little bit more, maybe.
But think about all the nonverbals that a tail would add. Like, is your tail raised? Is your tail drooping? Is your tail swishing from side to side? The nonverbals from a tail would be a huge addition to our communication.
When Morgan is laying down on the floor, we'll start talking to her, or we're like, what are you doing? And so she knows that we're talking to her, and we can tell that we know that she's listening because her tail will start moving. Mm-hmm. So she could be laying completely motionless, and then as soon as we start talking to her, her tail starts going. She's like, yeah, I hear you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm keeping beat.
Yeah, I hear you talking to me. But great job, both teams. Your last category in the round is what's in a name? What search engine was originally called Backrub by its creators, as it would check backlinks of sites to estimate the site's importance? Fortunately, the name change led to a much better SEO when searching for its name.
Which search engine, right?
Yep, I'm looking for the search engine that was originally called Backrub.
This is one of those questions where it's like, yeah, I've answered this at least twice, and I've known the answer, and I've forgotten the answer for sure. I know it's one of these things, but I forget because time is a cruel, cruel mistress.
I try and keep your brain young, Jonathan. You fight me every step of the way.
It's not me who's fighting you. So I'm fine. I'm fine with your original answer, Les.
All right, locked in.
So, I liked your last answer. So, when you're talking about searching backlinks, to me that seemed like maybe like a meta engine. And Ask Jeeves was I don't know if that's even around anymore. It was a meta engine, but I was thinking maybe DuckDuckGo, because I know that's new-ish, but I don't use it enough to or at all, really.
Yeah, right.
I know it's really big with people who are into privacy. And I don't think it's Google, though we all know that Google is founded by two guys, but I don't think that has anything to do with their I don't know. So we have a couple of options.
Yeah, I don't think it's Bing.
Yeah, I don't think it's Bing either. I mentioned it, but you said it, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's a Microsoft property, so it's not going to be two founders that started it, right? Or founders. It's just going to be
it was already existing company, yeah, right?
Yeah. So, which kind of makes me think that it's either a really new engine or a really old one.
Yeah.
As long as it's not Edge, we're cool.
Right. I don't think it's going to be Yahoo, because that was already a news site property before they added the search engine. I don't think it's going to be anything older than that would have been what? It would have been I can't even think of a search engine before that.
Search engines. Google, Bing, Alta Vista, Jeeves, DuckDuckGo. It's the backlinks that's throwing me off. Is that if that results in meta engine type results, I think maybe that could be Ask Jeeves.
I like that, or DuckDuckGo, honestly. I don't, either way.
Yeah. Let's just go with Ask Jeeves because I feel like that seems like that it's a result of a name change. DuckDuckGo.
Yeah,
I don't even know what that means. So why would you change your name to that?
Right.
All
Yeah,
right.
I like that.
Okay.
So I say Ask Jeeves.
Yeah, Ask Jeeves.
All right.
All right, Les, you had confidence, at least 70% confidence.
Back in the early mid-90s, Zahkia was right. It came up, Backrub was created by a couple of guys based on the clue, was due to the backlinks. So when they were rolling it out, that's what they went with, Backrub. But over time, it was just like, people are not going to get behind the name Backrub. They just didn't think it was good enough. So they tried to figure out a name for what they were going to call a search engine, and that's where they came up with the Googleplex terminology for the amount of search engine results that it can produce, like in a large number, and then that eventually trickled down to just Google.
So y'all went with Google?
Yep.
Yes.
Great. So I was hoping that talking about SEO, because Google really made it to where your SEO is extremely important when you create websites or apps or name your company, because you want to be as on top of that list as possible. The word I'm looking for here is Google. So Google was originally called Backrub.
Yep.
First thing we said, and then just immediately discounted it.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it can't be Google. Yeah.
Actually, one of the things I was worried about was Ask Jeeves because the alphabetized version of that name could be a higher SEO, but Google stuck pretty well too.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that is the end of the fourth round. Jonathan and Les have 122. Zahkia and Matthew have 64.
It's not a runaway. The thing is if you're within half, you're there. It's still a game.
Still all to play for.
All right, your first category of round 5. Necessity is the mother of invention.
Another Mother's Day question.
Yeah.
Yay!
Maybe a bit morbid for Mother's Day.
Uh-oh.
Roughly 100 people die each year from choking on what common office supply, leading to a redesign to mitigate the risk?
Yeah.
I'm almost positive.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Because I can explain when I won't explain now.
All right, so you guys are locked in?
Yeah, I think we are.
Yes.
So Les, you started out with pin caps, and I like pin caps because people put them in their mouth for sure, but I don't consider the pin cap an office supply. The pen would be the office supply.
Well, you would be right in that pens would be the probably answer, but the design itself would be the cap because originally pen caps were solid, like enclosed. And now when people started choking on them from, chewing on them, having them in their mouths, that's when they put the holes in the top to at least have that little bit of like airway or a tiny bit of airflow so it wasn't a complete choking.
Do you think that's why? That's what it is?
That's exactly why.
How confident are you in this?
I'm fairly confident because having chewed on many an office supply in my time, and just being one of them random pieces of knowledge that I have, I know they did the pen cap was redesigned because people were choking on them.
I would have said paperclip. That's kind of where I would be going because lots of people they're doing filing and whatever, and you put paperclip in your mouth and you kind of move it around between your lips the same way you do if you're doing carpentry work and you put a few nails in your mouth. But I'm an inveterate pen cap chewer. I'd chewed my fair share of pen caps. So if you feel like you know this, you've heard it before, then I'm willing to go along.
Yeah, I think that'd probably be the safest bet. No pun intended.
So do you want to say pen caps? Do you want to say pins? I think you got to say pen caps if you mean pen caps, if that's what got redesigned.
Well, but you were right in that pen caps would not be the office supply. I would say pens.
I would I say that, but people aren't choking on pens.
Right,
so,
but the pen cap part of the pen, that's why I'm leaning.
I think you got to say
pens.
pen caps, and she'll understand. If she just has pins written down, then that's something that we would have to talk about. But I would be specific.
All right, then let's lock in pen caps.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, for all the reasons Les said, they redesigned the pen cap to put that little hole in the top of it so that people wouldn't choke on them just in case they swallowed them. We said pen cap.
So I have pens listed, and specifically ballpoint pens. I will accept pen caps because it's part of a ballpoint pen. But that is absolutely why there's a hole in a pen cap, just in case you accidentally swallow it. That way you have a little bit of air so you don't fully choke on them. But that is 100% why there is a hole in every pen cap.
Never, ever, 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 ever knew that. Very cool.
So good job, both teams.
Yeah. Loudly celebrating.
Hey, every time that we both get it right, it's good for y'all.
Yeah.
We went to 130, you went to 70. All of a sudden, that's a 2-question swing.
Yep.
All right.
Your next category. Next category is state laws. What U.S. state was the first to make the use of marijuana legal in 1913 before allowing the medical use of it in 1996 and the recreational use in 2016?
No comprende.
So
clarification? Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'll read the question again. What U.S. state was the first to make the use of marijuana illegal in 1913? So they were the first state to make the use of marijuana illegal.
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 I missed that.
Oh, okay. All right.
The first time it sounded like you said legal, which was like, I don't get it.
No, it's illegal, which is what I said, before allowing the medical use of it in 1996 and the recreational use in 2016.
Also, are you saying that it was the first state to do all of those?
No, it was just the first to make it illegal, but then they re-legalized it in those 2 years for those two reasons.
I think if you want to go with that, Les, we can go with that. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think that'd probably be the best way to go.
All right, we're going to lock in.
Okay.
All right. So let's debrief.
Yeah.
So we talked about California, but I don't think it's California because recreational marijuana was legalized in Michigan in 2018. And we had this joke that it was legal for recreational use here, but not in California. And that just seemed really, really weird. And I brought up Washington and Colorado because those were the first two to make it legal recreational. But I backtracked on it because 2015, I think it was 2015 because I went to a business meeting where a guy was smoking in Boulder. And I definitely remember that. So, yeah, and they were pretty much together. So we brought up Oregon, and that makes sense to me. I do think Oregon was a state in 1913.
I was in Portland, Oregon around 2016, 2017, and I remember it being recently legalized recreationally there.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. And Oregon does kind of have a little bit of a interesting dark past.
For sure. And it's definitely still split right, literally down the middle of the state as far as ideologies go. So I could see it being sort of puritanical and then slowly leaning that way, opening up that way. But I feel like I feel like you're right. I feel like Washington, because the fact that she said they weren't the first ones to re-legalize it, that makes me think, that steers me away from Colorado, Washington.
Right. Yeah. And then the being legalized for medical in 1996, that is what would make me think California. I really don't think it's California. So unless we've been making a bad joke here in America's High Five. So I'm gonna lean. I feel good about Oregon. Because it's proximity to California too. If it was legal in California early, it's likely to be for medical use in California early. It's likely to be the same in Oregon.
Yeah.
I
like it. So we'll say Oregon.
Les, you and I, we didn't know We know 96 felt early-ish for medical, and 16 felt early-ish for recreational. And so I listed out, hey, it seems like it's either going to be Colorado, California, Oregon, Washington, or Alaska. We ended up choosing California.
All right.
Alaska. But Alaska wasn't a state in 1913.
Yeah.
And so let's go through some stuff here because a lot of states are thrown out. These are all states that have legalized marijuana. So let's throw out some dates here. Washington and Colorado both legalized recreational use in 2012. Oregon legalized it in late 2015. And California legalized it in late 2016. But they were also the first to make it illegal in 1913. So Michiganders have been making a bad joke.
That is awful.
Well, it was probably
even do it.
It was probably a good joke at one point, but now it's not. Who knows?
Yeah, so California legalized through they had like a Compassion Act in 1996, which made it legal for medical use, and then they passed it fully for recreational use in 2016.
Sometimes, so there's multiple questions in this episode where I feel like we just got a little bit lucky, where it's like, we don't know, but here's what we can do. Let's do this.
Right. Oh, we just got it. We just got it 2 years, 2019, 2020, somewhere in there. It was when the governor was trying to save his job.
I believe in Florida, only the medical use is legal at the moment. We have not passed recreational use yet.
That is correct.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens at the end of this year.
Well, it doesn't matter to me. As long as it's still federally illegal, it's never going to be good for me because I still work for the federal government. So.
Well, yeah, that's true too. But most places like I've traveled to in like the last like 5 years, like it's legal everywhere I go, and then I come home like, well, it's not legal here. So at least not for me. All right. Your last question in the round is, well, you don't need it to spell petty.
Oh, God, that's such a good category. I don't even know what the question is, but it's such a good category name.
When the Clinton administration was vacating the White House in preparation for the next president, staff removed what key from all of the keyboards?
Yeah, mouse.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I know this.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Les, we can talk. They're locked in. I assume they're locked in. You're all locked in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Lock it.
Okay, so the Clinton administration was leaving, and that means the Bush administration was coming in, and they removed a key from all of the keyboards, and that key is not P, E, T, or Y. Control, function, Alt, Shift, Caps Lock, Tab, Escape, Home, Insert, Page Up. I can't look at a keyboard. That's not right. Do you think it's a letter, or do you think it's some kind of command key? I mean, it could just be Enter. It could be Return. That's the most effective thing.
That would make sense because if you can't hit Enter, you can't like really put anything in.
Mm-hmm.
I have absolutely no pull on this one at all. But
a part of me wants it to be the space bar. Where it's like, no, you can do whatever you want, but you can't space any words. It's all one giant jumble.
Mm-hmm. Well, if we know anything about Bush, I mean, that was kind of his thought process.
I don't have any idea. Would you rather do Return or space?
Let's do Return.
Do you think maybe it's a letter though? Oh, it's probably W.
You know what? That's a good idea.
Right, because then his name would have to be George Bush without the W to distinguish.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I like that a lot better. Now there's a reason for it.
For sure.
All right, we're going to say W.
You were going to lock in.
We were that close.
If we put in a formal request for Jonathan to stop Jonathaning, that would be great. Because we need these points.
I had to thunder and everything, and you had to go and you were about to say lock in.
You were very close to it.
We were so close.
Yeah, it's W. That's for sure.
You don't need it to spell the word petty. They took all the W's off the keyboards.
Wow.
Wow.
Can't believe it. Can't believe it.
Wow. Golly.
That is the end of the fifth round. Jonathan and Les have 152. Zahkia and Matthew have 84.
Oh, Les, we're having a good game, dude.
Yeah, we're not doing too shabby.
Zahkia and Matthew, you are also doing very well. 84 is a good score.
I don't feel like we're doing well, Carmela.
I have been told that I write hard games. So when I see like a high score, I'm like, hey, cool, awesome. I didn't write so hard of a game.
I don't feel like it's been super hard. I just feel like we've come up on the wrong end of a bunch of coin flips so far.
Yeah, and that'll happen.
So, Carmela, I will say I was nervous to play your game because I've heard that you write hard games, but I love a tough game. But I'm like, I'm feeling it.
I've been blessed in this game with a good partner that balances things that I'm not knowing. So there's been multiple times when Les is like, nah, I feel like I should say this. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know it, so we'll do it. We're going with you. And every single time he's been right. There's 40 points like that at least.
Yeah, and everything could wash out in the gauntlet too. So you guys absolutely still can get us there.
I've seen it happen. I know it was the last game I played because we were behind and we took it in the gauntlet because y'all didn't know that Chris Evans was in a specific movie.
That's right.
And we did.
Yes.
Your first category in round 6 is this or that. How many days does it take for Mercury to complete a revolution around the sun? It is also the same number of keys on a standard full-size piano.
Fool me on that, Jonathan.
Oh,
yeah. We can 3, 2, 1 it if you want.
You guys can 3, 2, 1 if you want to. I'll just sit back.
Okay.
I'll count for you if you'd like.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
88.
88.
Absolutely, 88. Good job.
Beauty.
Not miles per hour.
No. It will. You actually, that would also have been a good clue for me to put in there. But I always associate 88 with with a piano, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's right. That's how long it takes for Mercury to go around the sun.
That was the name of the piano player in Dick Tracy. Was 88 keys.
Yeah.
So.
Oh wow.
I just know that there's 88 keys on the piano.
Yeah, that would make sense. That would make sense. Your next category. Creative categorization of foodstuffs.
Okie dokie.
I was getting very tired, but by the time I got to this category name. Creative categorization of foodstuffs. So, what alcoholic beverage was sold instead as a soft drink in Russia until 2011 when it was legally recategorized as alcohol?
Okay, we're locking in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
we're locked in.
Yeah, so we're having a debate between beer and light beer. I think that it isn't realistic, even like for Russia, to say just beer in general is not an alcoholic drink. Germany's got Oktoberfest. They've been well aware that beer is alcoholic. It's not a cultural thing to think that it's not, I don't think. But light beer, I feel like makes sense as a oh, this isn't really beer. This is just light beer, which means there's less alcohol. There's almost none. And so I think that they could justify that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that point. Just thinking of like the broad, like overall arch, like just like narrowing it down between light beer. That seems like almost too narrow, because if light beer fell under beer, then when they made that assertion, then light beer itself would have been considered alcohol the whole time and not considered like a soft drink or a.
No, I'm saying that they didn't consider it under beer. They considered it a totally different thing.
Oh, so it.
Light beer came after beer. So beer existed, and then they made light beer, and I think that they would have said, "This is light. This is not hard." At least that's what my argument would be. That's what leads me there. If you'd like to say beer, I'm not going to argue it. It's not a huge deal. If I were answering myself, I would say light beer. And if I was Carmela, I wouldn't accept beer if the answer was light beer, because those are distinct.
Right, and the reverse is kind of where I'm at. If it was beer overall and we said light, then we could possibly get dinged for that.
I think beer is too simple an answer for this point in the game.
Yeah, but simple has got us this far.
You know what? I can't argue with that. Go ahead and say what you want.
All right, let's go with beer. Lock in.
Okay.
So we had a similar conversation, but not about light beer. We had a conversation between beer and wine. And I know that there have been several countries who have very vehemently considered beer to be not alcohol, even though it is alcoholic, but not put it in the alcohol genre overall. And we both thought, and even this may be just our American bias, but we both also thought that when you say the word soft drink, that automatically makes me think carbonation, even though it doesn't necessarily have to be carbonated to be considered a soft drink. And I think because of that, and also that Zahkia is wearing her husband's beer hoodie, we decided to go with beer.
All right. So Russia had considered anything 10% ABV or less not in the alcohol category, which would be beer. They considered it beer.
Yeah.
Once again, Les. Once again.
Saved Jonathan, because he would have said light beer, and I might have accepted it, but based on he's like, no, this is my argument, and this is why it's not beer. It has to be light beer.
Right.
Well, you're the one who dug that hole, dude. So, but I didn't have to do that because you talked him into just saying beer, and both teams got full credit.
Nice.
Your last category in the round is Consolation Prize. If you were to place last in the Iditarod sled dog race, you would receive the Committed to the Last Mile Award, which is commemorated by what? It shares a name with a villainous comic book core that includes Guy Gardner and Dex Starr, who was a cat. So if you were to place last in the Iditarod sled dog race, you would receive the Committed to the Last Mile Award, which is commemorated by what? It shares a name with a villainous comic book core that includes Guy Gardner and Dex Starr, who is a cat.
How specific do we need to be, Carmela?
It has a specific name.
Okay.
Both the core and the object.
So they
has
share
a specific
full
name.
name.
Yep, they share a name.
What was the name of the cat?
Dex Starr. DEX-STARR.
And it was a cat. It wasn't like a cat humanoid.
No, it's a cat. His origin story is very sad. Because, of course, I know the origin story of a comic book cat.
Okay, we will lock in.
Yeah, Matt.
Okay.
So, I think Kennel is hilarious.
Yeah.
It made me think, so if you were to place last in the Iditarod, so it's not just your dog, not the last dog. It's like the last.
You're the last finisher, last sled. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the whole thing, and it's commemorated by. Well, maybe it is a kennel because it's a I don't know. It's a commemoration thing.
Uh-huh.
Kind of symbolic of hey, maybe you need to give your dogs a rest. But yeah,
I mean, like bone or like a food dish, dog.
Yeah, I guess the comic book core doesn't help because I'm thinking Dex Starr is a cat. Cats can go in kennels too. Oh yeah, this is.
And I'm wondering, if it's just, I mean, is the name Dexter supposed to be part a clue, or is it just happens to be the two people that are in two of the things that are in that core?
A guy and Dexter. I hope maybe right-handed cat. Yeah, I got nothing. This is
yeah,
spicy.
It is the last question of the last round. So
yeah.
So a kennel is something that they could give. I mean, it's something that you guess or is an object, I guess, right? Because if you think of the houses that sled dogs live in. They call them kennels.
Yeah.
And I could also see it be a group of people.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, maybe if you give the kennel, you're like in the doghouse.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. The kennel's the only thing that, like, since you said it, it's the only thing that's floating around. So, I got nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, let's just lock in the wrong answer.
Okay.
So you're going with kennel?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, Jonathan and Les.
I think the concept behind the prize for the sled dog side is kind of like the we'll leave the light on for you kind of thing. Because Guy Gardner used to be part of the Green Lantern Corps. But Green Lanterns are good guys. And so when she says villainous, that means it's one of the other colors. And the colors of the bad guy lanterns are things like red, yellow, orange, black. Guy Gardner was a character who was a good guy but had like anger issues. So we ended up going with the angry, the rage-driven Lantern Corps, and we said Red Lanterns or Red Lantern.
Okay, so Dexter, his origin, he actually was like a real cat, like who lived in New York, and then he became one of these lanterns and took on the name Dexter instead. But there is the opposite of Dexter is Sinister. And there is a yellow lantern named Sinestro, which I think is very funny. But yeah, I'm looking for Red Lantern here.
Oh,
so
wow.
Nice.
Red Lantern. You receive a Red Lantern as committed to the last mile, and you would have to have some comic book knowledge to know about the different Lantern Corps colors. But Red Lantern is what I was looking for there.
I don't feel bad about that one at all. Like
that one is legit hard. It was, but like I said, it's the last question of the last round. It's supposed to be legit hard. Oh, but I thought it was cool. I was like, oh, you get a Red Lantern, like Dexter?
The first one you think of.
I think of Dexter. When I think of Red Lanterns, I always think of Dexter because he's a cat.
I think is the main one like Abominus or something like that.
It's something ridiculous.
Troticus, I think.
The different Lantern Corps are, they're something else. But at the end of the sixth round, going into the gauntlet, Jonathan and Les have 182, and Zahkia and Matthew have 104. So not a runaway. Definitely have the option to come back in the gauntlet. So your gauntlet category, just so everybody knows, I recorded my first episode with Trivial Warfare Mother's Day weekend, 2015.
Yeah.
So this is Mother's Day weekend 2022. This is my 7-year anniversary with the show.
Oh, happy anniversary. It's your anniversary.
So your gauntlet category is 7.
Okay.
Okay, our wager's locked in.
Okay.
Our wager is also locked in.
All right. Both wagers are locked in. Let's get into the gauntlet. Category is 7. First question. Traditionally, the 7th anniversary is celebrated with gifts made of what metal, an essential dietary mineral, and number 29 on the atomic chart?
Okay, we're locked in.
All right, we're locked in.
All right. Your next question. The 7 deadly sins have their counterpart, the 7 heavenly virtues. Patience is the heavenly virtue that pairs up with what deadly sin?
Let's go with your answer then.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, we're going to lock in.
And we'll go ahead and lock in.
And your last question. What popular K-pop group has 7 members, including J-Hope, Jungkook, and Jimin?
Yep, we can lock in.
Okay, well then that's we'll go ahead and lock that in.
All right, I'll go through the questions. Y'all will give me the answers. First question. The 7th anniversary is traditionally celebrated with gifts made of what metal? Zahkia and Matthew, what did you go with?
This came down to one word for us, and that was essential that you had in the question. So with that in mind, one thing we knew that was an essential mineral for human bodies and also definitely an anniversary, we said iron.
Okay.
And we had a back and forth that was really good, but I've learned to trust Les when he said something in this game. So I would have probably gone with iron, but Les, tell him what you were saying about your recent review of this.
All right. Well, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's celebrating their 20th anniversary, and we were just talking about the gifts. And one thing that really stuck out to me was the 7th, and the traditional gifts for a 7th anniversary. They usually, it's like a metal or a fine or jewel, and something more tactile. And the traditional anniversary gifts for the 7th anniversary are wool and copper. And copper is the 29th element on the periodic table. So that's,
are you sure of that? Because you could have just said that and we wouldn't have had to debate anything.
I know, but that wouldn't have been as fun.
All you had to say was, hey, I know copper is 29. I'm like, okay. All right, so we locked in with copper.
Okay. 7 deadly sins have their counterpart, the 7 heavenly virtues. What is the deadly sin that pairs up with the heavenly virtue of patience? Jonathan and Les.
Go ahead, Les.
We went with patience.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. Patience is in the question.
Because that's what I'm writing down.
She wants to know what pairs up with patience.
Oh, wrath. Sorry.
There we go.
All right. And Matthew and Zahkia.
We tossed around a couple of things, but I definitely remember thinking, just in general, that patience seems like the antidote to wrath. So we went with wrath.
Do you know what
Also,
the other
Jonathan,
two were that I couldn't think of?
Yeah, envy and gluttony.
So envy is greed, though, and so greed and there's different.
Greed. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Envy is
I
separate from greed.
I see. Okay, thank you.
All right. And your last question, what K-pop group has 7 members that include J-Hope, Jungkook, and Jimin? Zahkia and Matt.
We both typed at the same time. BTS.
Butter, baby.
It's like butter.
All right. Les and Jonathan.
Yeah, James Corden is a big fan of these guys. He's had them on this show like countless times. So, yeah, we went with BTS as well.
So we're going to start from the bottom, work our way up, because that's the only one that y'all differed on. BTS includes Jungkook, Jimin, J-Hope, V, all RM. There's so many. I can never keep them straight. And they change their hair color like every new single. So I can't even like match them up. And I'm like, stop moving around. But they're all very adorable and I love them. The opposites, or the pairing of for patience, is indeed wrath. If you are slow to anger, you have patience.
There it is.
All right. And the traditional 7th anniversary gift, wool, is indeed one of those, but it's not made of metal. The metal is used, the essential part of it in all living organisms is a key constituent of the respiratory enzyme complex cytochrome C oxidase, and that is copper. Wow. It is copper.
That right there was the Les Chrisman gauntlet. Holy moly. I would have missed most of that. But Les just been right so many times. I'm like, no, we'll go with you, dude. Wow.
Les Chrisman gauntlet. This has been a Les Chrisman game.
Yeah.
Real.
Maybe that should be the title.
And he was talking about having one of the lowest scores ever at the start of this game. Remember that? Remember that?
I'm so tired.
Hey, coffee has worked. Coffee has absolutely worked.
All right, so let's get into wagers.
It's hard to make it dramatic on this one. So, Zahkia and Matt, what did you wager?
Everything.
Yeah, we bet it all.
All right. And we made the eminently logical wager of 27 to put us at 209.
So 209-20, Jonathan and Les are your champions today.
Congratulations, Les. Good work,
Good job,
dude.
guys.
That's solid.
Oh, man.
What a performance.
After failing on Foreplay and Blitz, I'm glad I was able to complete the trifecta with a win.
There we go. That's fantastic. Well, hey, before we go, we like to give everybody a chance to do shout-outs and promote causes that they care about. Les, why don't we start with you?
All right. Well, obviously, the world's still almost being on fire. It's very, very important. So just keep everyone that you love close. Make sure you let people know that you care about them. And also definitely check in with people that really don't like have much social interaction, because we depression and suicide, I know, has been really, really amped up the past couple of years. So just checking in on those that are kind of quiet and making sure everyone is okay. Please do that, because we just need to take care of each other.
Very good. Very good. Thank you.
It is Mental Health Awareness Month, by the way.
There we go. And Matt, your turn.
Big shout out to my wife, Allison. She is, we don't even, strangely enough, and maybe a story for another time, we don't live in the same city. So she happens to be here right now and was gracious enough to let me do this. And also thank you to my mother-in-law, Sharon, for allowing me to be here early, too, so that I can go visit her now for Mother's Day. But as far as shout-outs, same thing I always say. Please, oh please, go support your local musicians. It's a really pivotal time for music coming back into the realm of general popularity at this time, and it's how I make my living. So I would appreciate if you. We always like to say there'd be no national bands without local bands. So go support some local musicians, and we really appreciate it when you come out.
Fantastic. All right, guys, and that's going to wrap us up. So, for Matt, for Les, for Zahkia, and Carmela, my name's Jonathan. This has been episode number 376 of Trivial Warfare, where it's not just trivia, it's war. Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Happy Mother's Day, y'all.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thanks for listening to Trivial Warfare. Be sure to check out the revamped TrivialWarfare.com as your one-stop shop to submit questions, join the community, and get access to over 150 archived episodes. Warm It Up was written and performed by Matthew Stevens. This episode was edited and produced by me, Joel Sharpton. For help with your podcast, visit ProPodcastingServices.com.
It's just occurring to me how Beaver Cleaver is kind of a off-color joke.
Ouch!
I had never thought that before, but now I am.
Yeah.
I think somebody in Hollywood was making that joke.
No, thank you. I'm good. Thanks.